saw him, he was running. It was a Wednesday. I remember because the air felt like the middle of a thought you'd never finish. I couldn't sleep that night, so since 2 a.m. that morning, I sat perched on the sill of my living room window and watched the narrow street and its sidewalks. That's when I saw him race by. He was running through an unfinished thought at sunrise. The accident was on a Friday, the newspaper read. The reporter made mention of blood on pavement, a cracked rib cage, and jagged spokes. I wish the spirit of Neruda had written that article. My kneecaps could have been likened to dormant volcanoes erupting after 1,000,000 years. The pavement could have been blessed by the glass of that windshield like an infinity of stars flung across the sky. I imagine him running from something, some demon with rapid hind legs of steel and fire. But that was less satisfying once I imagined him running towards something. My imagination was weak that Wednesday. It could not even begin to fathom what he hoped to catch. The day was hazy, like it would be after a drizzle of rain. Except this morning there was no memory of rain from the night before. The sun rose too early from bed and shone too boldly on the pavement. And yet there was still haze. The first time I saw her, she was watching him too. I would give her a name, but giving a name to something you do not understand makes you fear it. I did not want to fear this woman. She stood leaning against the railing of her third-floor balcony with her crossed arms and bosom pressed out and nearly over the sidewalk. She threw her shadow into his path as she smiled and gave a tiny wave when he ran by. I'd like to think he was too busy running towards something to even notice me. Something connected to neither her nor me, something my imagination was too weak to fathom. The first time she saw me, I was watching her watch him. When she found my window, her smile faded and her eyes threw jagged spokes. I tried to apologize with mine. Apologize for witnessing her throw her shadow into someone else's path. He was oblivious to how much this woman on her balcony made the air feel like Friday with her jagged eyes and tiny waves. He simply ran. In the middle of a sun-struck Wednesday haze, pounding pavement towards something. Like I said, my imagination was weak that day. Blood tastes different than you imagine it would. Some liken it to the taste of metal or sulfur, but the taste of metal is elusive, and I do not believe anyone has described the sulfur tasting in coherent detail. Blood tastes like the musk of the moment that drew the blood in the first place. Then it tastes like the fear of its flavor stuck to the roof of your mouth. Then its aftertaste is sweet, like laughter soaked in slow motion. Blood is flavorless until you've tasted it and savored the memory of it. The accident smelled of burnt rubber, that baby's last snore, the clash of aluminum and human flesh, the jolt of handlebars and a white-knuckled grip. But the taste of blood made all the difference. I could read his running. His legs were strong, but his ribcage was heavy. I could tell by the way he wobbled and teetered from side to side when his breathing grew sharp and his strides grew long. He refused to stop, even though the sun was burning his heels and sweat was drowning his eyebrows. Running does not involve clarity, I've concluded. It involves a sidewalk and a sudden wish to pass through someone's shadow, to catch that something that no one else can fathom. He wobbled when his wishes were weak, but somehow his legs were still strong. Pain is real. Yet, Being hurt is what everyone wants to talk about and wants to avoid. Pain is tangible, inevitable, impulsive. Being hurt is residual, an aftershock of pain. Imagination at its finest. He probably runs on a Wednesday because on Wednesday, the imagination is weak. He feels pain. The sting of fatigue shooting through his ribcage shows in the grimace on his face, but he is not hurt. Hurt does not exist until you imagine it will. He could never hurt me on a Wednesday. We wouldn't be able to fathom it into existence. Her jagged spoke eyes tell me she has imagined hurt one too many times. Now it simply exists, and she leans on it and casts its shadow onto his path, hoping he'll pass through it, hoping he hurts just as much as she does. When she sees me watching her watch him, I try to apologize with my eyes peering through the haze. I apologize for my weak imagination. I apologize for tasting blood and for Fridays teaching me how real pain is. I apologize for not feeling that residual thing she cannot seem to avoid. I apologize for not being hurt. I apologize for watching him run through her shadow. The accident was on Friday. I don't need a newspaper article to tell me. I remember because my brain has a white-knuckled grip on the memory. A memory that fills my mouth with the sweet taste of blood every time the sun shines too boldly on the pavement. If I had a shadow when I started on the balcony, it would be hazy. It would rescue that baby's last snore. Eyes wouldn't have to apologize for windowsills. I would run again with kneecaps that couldn't erupt like volcanoes, and I would run with him. On a Wednesday, when hurt cannot exist, I would pound pavement with a stinging ribcage. I would run with him towards something. I would run to forget the taste of blood that never leaves my mouth.